Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're doing okay today. Pardon us for being a little bit late tonight. We've had a very, very busy day, but we are here. My husband will be here in just a moment. And we are the Sawyers, and I am Tony, and he'll be Clifton coming in just a moment. I got to get a drink. Oh, just a second. Mm. As I said, we've had a very, very busy day, and I think the time ran away from us. But we're here live and in color. Let me just fix some of my things here on the screen, and I'll be right with you. Right with you. Okay. Let's see who's here. Let's see who's here. My sister and my brother-in-law are the first ones here tonight. Oh boy, I look kind of rosy pink. Hey, sissy and brother-in-law. Hello, Dee Dee and George. There's my sweetie pie, Linda Lang. Linda, I got your card. I got it right here with me, too, see? Got it right here with me. Thank you, darling. And for the little birthday gift, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I wish you could be here with us on Saturday when we do the birthday breakfast. By the way, I'm going to put that up there because some of you guys may not remember. It's going to be this Saturday. This Saturday, I'll be 75 on Friday. That Friday is the 28th. Will be my birthday. You coming in the house?
Mm-mm.
Come in. So I'll be 75. Anyway.
She thinks she's grown, but she ain't.
John Greason is in the house. John
Dr.
Greason
John?
is here in the house. And here is one of my favorite people in all the world. Jonathan is here. Jonathan Sykes. Aren't you something? How are you doing? You and Katie and the girls. They're probably big girls now, I would imagine. Good to have you here, Jonathan. So glad you can make it to our live stream. I know you've been following us and watching us, and it's so good to see you tonight, tuning in and chiming in, letting us know that you're here. It always makes us feel good when somebody lets us know they're here. Hey, James Dixon, I want to know how you're doing. We need to call you. Now, Jonathan says he usually joins us through the cell phone and couldn't chat. Oh, okay. A lot of people watch us on TV too. If they can get YouTube on TV, they'll watch us that way.
You say clutches?
Watch us.
Oh, watch us. Okay.
How are your ears, by the way?
They're not good.
Not good? You stopped up again?
Yeah. Okay, Jonathan. Okay.
Linda says she's missing something or has this Tuesday class not started yet. No, sweetie pie, we started a little bit late, just a teeny bit late, okay. But I'm glad you came on back in. I guess you're back in. Hey, Deb.
Miss Deb.
Miss Deb and Brother Kessler. You can't be yawning online.
Oh, I forgot.
You can't be yawning on the live stream. Hello, Kathy. I'm glad you're here with us today. Pastor Norman is here with us. Hey, Pastor
J.
Norman.
Hewitt, Edward J. Norman Johnson Jr.
Oh, they're saying I look beautiful. Beautiful.
Oh,
my God.
well, thank you. I
appreciate
that. I try my best to look.
Jonathan, we would love to catch up with you. Love to catch up with you. That would be wonderful, wonderful. And I think do I have your number? Do I have your email? Send me an email or something.
Mm-hmm.
Look, if you don't have it, I'm going to put this up here so you can send us an email and so we can catch up. Put it up there so we can add you to our email list, and that way you'll get to be with us sometime. We'll get to spend some time together. Hey, Virginia. I'm glad you're here tonight, darling.
Virginia.
So glad you're here tonight. By the way, that's our email, you guys, in case for Cornerstone. If you send us an email, and you can always contact us that way. So, anywho, let's see. Let me get myself together here. And baby girl's down here on the side waiting for a treat. as always. She's always good when she's got these treats coming to her. You got something to get on your plate tonight?
No, I just want to listen. If you had something you wanted to read tonight.
You had something you wanted me to read tonight, remember?
Mm.
Yes, that's what you said. You said that. And I don't know if I'm ready to read all of that, but I will if you choose for me to. But in the meantime, let's do our meditation, affirmation, prayer, whatever you want to call it. Let's do that. And as I've always said, I want you to put all your concerns aside. Put everything that you've been thinking about doing and not doing, things that you may be pondering, things that are looming that you're wanting not to happen, or things that you're wanting to happen. Just put all of that aside for a moment, just for a little bit. We don't need it right now. Right now is the only thing that's important is this moment, this hour that we spend together, and being open and receptive, not only from us to you, but from you to us as well. Because a lot of times your comments help other people as well. So I want to give you the right to do that as we begin to explore truth together. Besides this, that is what satsang is. It's coming together to discover truth. And that's what we do. So I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose and then let it out. Let all residual tension go with it. Before I do that, can you hit that button so that won't beep, honey? That phone thing? Hit that. The other thing. The one where you check the messages. The messages. The mess. It's up on the right there, that button. Hit that. Hit that. And hit it again. That's it. That'll keep it from beeping. All right, now we're ready. I have to take a deep breath in. You can say this after me, or you can simply listen, whichever is easiest for you. On this day, I ask to be a vehicle of divine love and a channel of your will. I surrender all personal will through devotion. I dedicate my life to service. I choose love and peace above all other options. I commit to the goal of unconditional love and compassion. And I surrender all judgment. Father, let this day not be a day spent in the mind, but a day absorbed in unity with you inside my heart. Be in my eyes and in my seeing. Be in my ears and in my hearing. Be in my mouth and in my speaking. Be in my mind and in my understanding. Fill me with yourself and replace me with you. And so it is. And so it is. So it is. All right.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. If you want me to read this, where should I start? Oh, my goodness. Go ahead and talk a little bit while I find what you
Okay,
wanted me to read.
wisdom. Once we get the hang of our oneness with God and with each other, really get hold of it, the search is over, along with a lot of other things that we were attached to, especially those things that we were convinced that out of the camp and out of the clubs that we joined, and the people that we heard that talk in separation of God, we can understand more about them because we were once entrapped into the conditions of separation from our true identity. And it brings about a peace awareness in us when we wake up, when something or whatever wakes up in us. Some people never wake up to their oneness with God. Jesus talked about it, and he said he and the Father were one. As a man, he spoke, and he spoke as oneness with the divine self in every one of us before he was crucified, before we knew anything about God. Our oneness with God was so established that even if we left this body, a world, without knowing this, it was still established as a fact that there's a part of every one of us that will never, ever go to the grave.
Hmm.
That has to be realized deeper than a religion. It has to be realized deeper than prayer, deeper than fasting, deeper than revelatory insight about the voice of God. But when one wakes up to his true identity, humility is aware of and is made known to that being, that it brings him or her into a place that's even deeper than a near death experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because out of beingness of your true identity comes all other facets of belief and settles all unbelief about God, about Jesus, about all the other uh, religions that talk about or talk in the form of separation. It was one of the greatest discoveries that was made with us from the beginning 54 years ago, but we didn't quite understand the full impact of it till recently or the few years that we became aware of it. And it's like a deep breath was finally taken. It's like baby girl, our dog, when she gets ready to settle down for night's rest, she takes a deep sleeping or a deep resting, not so much sleeping, but a resting breath.
Mm-hmm.
We call that a resting breath.
Yeah.
And that resting breath puts her in a position for the final resting place
Mm-hmm.
of all events that have occurred to her all during the daytime.
It's like a settlement.
Yeah, it
She
is.
just takes a deep breath and then she just lets the day go.
Yeah, yeah.
Lets the entire day go.
And so that's basically, and when you see this, it becomes aware that you're no longer stuck,
Mm-hmm.
and you wake up to your true
Mm-hmm.
self. When you wake up your true self, uh, who you are, what you are, and the really you, the real you, outside of everything, is settled.
Mm-hmm.
A settlement of identity, a settlement of struggle, and the big thing is no longer seeking and looking for God because you find Him as the breath. When you leave this body,
Mm-hmm.
not when the body quit, you leave. And if the body does quit, I've heard some people going to bed at night, and when they lay down, they leave their bodies, and when they do, they're out and come up on the other side of the bed, looking at their bodies in the bed, and they realize that that body laying there is only a suit that they had on. That was not anywhere close to being the eternal self.
Now, you wanted me to read some things because this morning um, I told him I had something I wanted to read to him. Excuse me. I had something that I wanted to read to him that I had written, and I know with a lot of the things that I've presented to you guys, and I read it to you, and then you'll ask who wrote it, and I'll say I wrote it, and you'll come back at me and say you should write a book. You should write a book. And I've been told that so many times, and I really, really, really wanted to write a book. I want to write a book, but didn't know, and still don't really know what the book should be about. And so I was like, I was stuck. So every time I would hear that, there would be this tension come up inside of me where I felt like I didn't know how to even begin that. Even though I've written from inspiration different things about my points of view of life or poems or whatever, I still didn't know how to write or what to write as a book. And so this morning while walking, I got the beginning of my book. But it came as I began studying some new material, and I won't introduce who I got it from at this point, but what I might. But it was the things that I had read the last couple of days from a book that I have gotten. And it's not a religious book. It's not even wouldn't even be considered a book that's spiritual. But the gentleman that wrote the book talked about how to find your life's task, the vocation, your vocation. And I wanted to read what vocation actually means. And I read that to you this morning, and I wanted to go back and read that again, what the word vocation actually means. And I'm going to start up here where he talks about work and what work is to us. He said, work is often seen as a means of making money so we can enjoy the second life that we lead. The second life being that thing we want to do that we don't have to get paid to do, that we really enjoy. Even if we derive some satisfaction from our careers, we still tend to compartmentalize our lives in this way. This is a depressing attitude because in the end, we spend a substantial part of our waking life at work. If we experience this time as something to get through on the way to real pleasure, then our hours at home, at work, represent a tragic waste of the short time we have to live. He said, instead, you want to see your work as something more inspiring, as part of your vocation. The word vocation comes from the Latin meaning to call or to be called. Its use in relation to work began in early Christianity. Certain people were called to a life in the church. That was their vocation. They could recognize this literally by hearing a voice from God who had chosen them for this profession. Yet over time, the word has become secularized, referring to any work or study that a person felt was suited to his or her interest, particularly a manual craft. It is time, however, that we return to the original meaning of the word, for it comes much closer to the idea of a life's task and mastery. The voice in this case that is calling you is not necessarily coming from God, but from deep within. Now, we said this, and when I read that to him, we know that deep within is God.
It's him.
It is. It emanates from your individuality. It tells you which activities suit your character And at a certain point, it calls you to a particular form of work or career. Your work then is something connected deeply to who you are, not a separate compartment in your life. You develop then a sense of your vocation. Finally, you must see your career or vocational path more as a journey with twists and turns rather than a straight line. You begin by choosing a field or position that roughly corresponds to your inclinations.
Okay.
Now, the inclinations that he's talking about, he has in this particular passage, and I'm not going to go back and read all of it. I don't think we can tonight. But he talks about going back, and in your childhood, there was something that stood out to you, something that excited you, something that caught your attention, and you felt like, "Ooh, I really like to do that," or "I really like to see that," or "I really like to be a part of that." It was something that captured your attention. That is what your inclination is. And so we kind of talked about it a little bit at the table, so you can jump in anytime. But my husband here likes to create, and he's an engineer at heart. So he's always building the tractors because he likes the way they move. He wants to see how they move. He wants to make sure they move the same way the real tractors do. He makes hats. He makes clothes. He modified bicycles, even to modify your Jeep, the way you modified your Jeep. All of that came from your engineering.
And a man stopped me on the way to the orthopedic this morning or this afternoon and talked about the hat, the white hat, and said he liked it and he wanted to know how I made it and where I got it from. And I told him I made it, and he'd like to have one. I didn't tell him how to get one because we were in a hurry. But
so the inclination, his inclination is engineer focused. And I want to read just a little bit of this. He said, the primal uniqueness naturally wants to assert and express itself, but some experience it more strongly than others. We are literally inspired, the Latin word meaning something from the outside breathing within us.
Okay.
And that starts when we're a child.
Yeah, I can remember back when it started, and I can also trace it back to the reason why I was living in a 3-level apartment with my family all of my life up to when we met at 22. And from that point on, I can remember everything that I went through, even the place where I was born, and the situation that came up was God, without me knowing until now that He was in auspices of my and your and everybody's entire life before there was ever such a thing as receiving Him, receiving the Spirit of God, born again, new birth experience, all of that.
Well, this is the thing. He said, all of us are born unique. This uniqueness is marked genetically in our DNA. We are a one-time phenomenon in the universe. Our exact genetic makeup has never occurred before and will never be repeated. That's how unique we are. And there is a unique expression that's built into each of us that comes out as a particular different thing that nobody else does.
I heard a lady in a near-death experience say, this is the reason why we came here to fulfill the destiny of this creativeness that we thought was just, we went to school for. We thought that we picked it up through being around certain people. But who we were around was who we were. A part of an angel or a light being self that actually, I don't like to use the word self too much. We were actually the potential. I don't like to use that one. That's too. It's not. it's nowhere close to saying the exact word of what caused us to be where we are today.
Yeah.
Now we have
Yeah.
brothers and sisters that may have passed on. Evidently, they were finished with what their purpose was here.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I stayed long enough here in these suits and in this finite world to watch her mother and father and her loved ones depart, even her oldest brother. And even with my mother, she and I got together to take care of each other during these moments of bereavement. And those people, those beings are still alive. They are still the life of God.
Mm-hmm.
As I said
Mm-hmm.
that, I just saw the flashing of my mother's face right in front of me. And these beings are light beings on the other side, are the touch. They are not touching. They are the touch of the spark, Sister Spark and Mr. Spark, life of the unending, eternal expression of the universe.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
You went all the way with that one, didn't you?
That's what I want to do. I want to go a
Mm-hmm.
way that
Mm-hmm.
we've never could imagine we went, and a turn that was taken without awareness of, that finally reveals itself in the connote of knowledge that is
Okay.
expressing itself brilliantly through even the suffering that seemed to be dismayed to our understanding.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, she said, okay,
So,
okay.
so having one of the reasons I brought this up and he wanted to read it, and I might read a little more, was because after having gone back and taking a closer look at my childhood, I discovered my inclination and the uniqueness that was here in this being that I am. I discovered it, and for the first time this morning, I was able to write the first page of my book.
Now,
It came very, very easily too. Once I stumbled across what it is I am here uniquely to do. And let me read this a little bit. He says, eventually you will hit upon a particular field, niche, or opportunity that suits you. You okay? That suits you perfectly. You will recognize it when you find it because it will spark that childlike sense of wonder and excitement. It will feel right. Once found, everything will fall into place. And that's exactly what happened to me. It happened to me. And I didn't know it was going to happen, but I wasn't following this book. I just simply did what this book is saying by taking a look at what I gravitated toward as a child. And when I began to do that, I saw it very clearly. And I was able to write that down. And that was the first part of the book.
I heard an event of a man who went on a search to find God. He went to the coldest place on earth, the deepest ocean in the coldest place. He went to the highest mountains and he looked and couldn't find God. He everywhere he went, to the depths of the ocean, to the height of the flight of the sky, and he couldn't find him. He finally gave up and come back home. And when he was sitting watching himself in the mirror, God appeared to him. Finally, after all spending of all his earnings to travel everywhere in the earth to find God, it was God all the time that was disguised himself as him going looking for himself.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he found God as his true, real self.
Yes. And I want to use my sister as an example. I don't think Renee would mind. She's
You
on
better
here.
ask her.
She's on here listening.
She might
But I
knock
want to
you out.
use her as an example. When she was a little girl, she loved dolls, and she loved babies, little children. She loved little children even when she was a child herself, to the point that she would take our dog. The dog's name was Suki. It was a Pekingese dog, small dog. She would put dresses on the dog, dress it like a baby, carry it around like a baby, And then she gravitated toward that when she became an adult. She went into early childhood training and has been in that for years. That is her niche. That's who she is. It's like she has this uncanny knowing and understanding about children. And that is what she's found herself as her vocation. And there may be other parts to it because she's also supposed to be writing a children's book, I think. But it finding that gives your life meaning, gives your life purpose. In other words, it's not giving it. You find your life's meaning and your life's purpose. I'm gonna read just a little more if you don't mind. We don't know how to fill up and structure our time. There seems to be no defining purpose to our lives. We perhaps are not conscious of this emptiness, but it infects us in all kinds of ways. Feeling that we are called to accomplish something is the most positive way for us to supply this sense of purpose and direction. It is a religious like quest for each of us. This quest should not be seen as selfish or antisocial. It is, in fact, connected to something much larger than our individual lives. Our evolution as a species has depended on the creation of a tremendous diversity of skills and ways of thinking. We thrive by the collective activity of people supplying their individual talents. Without such diversity, a culture dies. Your uniqueness at birth is a marker of this necessary diversity. It is necessary. And then it says this: your vocation is more than the work you do. It is intimately connected to the deepest part of your being and is a manifestation of the intense diversity in nature and within human culture. In this sense, you must see your vocation as eminently poetic and inspiring. Become who you are by learning who you are.
Now that learns who you are is an isolated aspect of our mind self, that it is someone else living apart from the true identity, which finds out that the life that we are in it is what is keeping it going, and it is not keeping us going or itself going.
Yeah, and it's really not about making money.
No,
it might come,
it may
come, but it's really about being fulfilled inwardly, your inner self.
If our finite self only knew, which eventually some of us would find out. I look at the Christ in everybody I meet, and some I can tell that I see him in them, and they drop their mouth in awe, and others there's a resistance there, and that resistance there is an indication that something inside of the finite self either don't want to hear this or is shocked by the rejection or shocked by the awareness of the true self coming forth, and it puts up a resistance because it fears that if it finds out that it is not the real us, that it's going to instantly be wiped out. And to a degree it is, but to another degree, let's say it like this: we are much more kinder to our finite self than it can realize.
Yes.
We are much more kinder and lovers of our human self than it was ever taught. What we're talking about is the gold that is more valuable than the refiner's gold. We're talking about a part of us that was in and beside every major inventor, from Jesus as a boy all the way down. We were inside of each other's
Every
eternal,
every
finite
yes.
self.
Every major inventor, every entrepreneur, every master. And
Mhm.
this is about life mastery, mastering your life, and it's mastering yourself. And this is the other part that he says, become who you are by learning who you are. And what is meant by that is you are born with a particular makeup and tendencies that mark you as a piece of fate. It
Mhm.
is who you are to the core. Some people never become who they are. They stop trusting in themselves. They conform to the taste of others, and they end up wearing a mask that hides their true nature. If you allow yourself to learn who you really are by paying attention to that voice and force within you, then you can become what you were fated to become, an individual, a master.
There's an old song we used to hear in the old brick and mortar and the wooden floor, potbelly stove churches. That old song said, coming home. Lord, I'm coming home. That's an old part of a song we used to say.
Yeah, I remember
And coming
that.
home is not leaving the body going to heaven. It is waking up
Mm-hmm,
to the
mm-hmm,
kingdom of
mm-hmm,
God that
mm-hmm.
we, as the infinite eternal self, are made out of
Yes,
inside
yes,
of the physical
yes.
body.
Do you want me to read more?
No, you can stop there if you want to. It's
Do you
just
want me
good.
to talk about any
Yeah,
more of that?
let's talk about it. Talk about it.
Okay,
I'm gonna listen to you.
okay. And then he said this. He says, it might seem that connecting to something as personal as your inclination and life's task would be relatively simple and natural once you recognize their importance. But in fact, it is the opposite. It requires a good deal of planning and strategizing to do it properly, since so many obstacles will present themselves. The following five strategies are designed to deal with the main obstacles in your path over time. The voices of others infecting you, fighting over limited resources,
Hmm.
choosing false paths, getting stuck in the past,
Hmm.
and losing your way. Pay attention to all of them because you will almost inevitably encounter each one in some form. For masters, their inclination often presents itself to them with remarkable clarity in their childhood.
Okay. Remarkable clarity.
Mhm.
It said here, when he decreed the seas, his decree, that the waters would not pass his commandment. Then he appointed, when he appointed the foundations of the earth, then were we him there, as
Mhm.
one brought up with him. I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him, rejoicing in the habitable part of his earth,
Mm,
and my
mm,
delight
mhm,
were
mhm,
with the sons of
mhm.
men.
Yes,
We didn't
yes.
have any problem. Our infinite self does not have any problem with our infinite self, our,
With our finite
our
self.
finite self, I mean, does
Mhm,
not have any problem with the flesh and bone mind chatter. It just
mhm,
observes.
mhm, mhm.
The monkey mind, we call it, the busy mind, the chatter talk 24/7. It does not get on our little bitty nerve.
Right.
As the child Jesus, we were there inside of him as the eternal essence. Now, some people we were taught we did not come to God until we received him. That is far, far,
It's not
far,
true.
far from the
It's
truth.
it's a it's a part true. I would say that is the moment that we became aware.
I call it
But
a flaky truth.
but for the most part, God was always there within us, and as a force that we didn't even recognize.
Yeah, that's true. Did that come or was it always there?
Mhm.
Was it always there and was never recognized? When it was it recognized only in portions or was it ever recognized at all? Some say no.
Mhm.
If it wasn't for the Lord, I would not have been here. We say that all the time, but have you really heard what's coming out of your mouth with the ear of your spirit. I tried something this morning. I think it was. I was here in the office, and some may have heard me talk about this. I decided to call my dog, baby girl, from upstairs, which was no way a human ear could hear me calling them.
Mhm.
I tried. I went as low in my voice as I could. In a whisper, I
Mhm.
called her.
Mhm.
First thing I heard was her jump off the bed. I waited. I waited, and I called 3 more times. She finally, with the ear of the spirit, she heard it, but she didn't move her body until she finally had no choice but to respond. I waited and I looked. A lot of times I'll be looking at the computer down here in the room, and I turn around and look, and there she is. She's as
Mhm.
quiet as a church mouse. She come down the stairs. I heard her feet go boom, 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 boom. There she comes. And she knows right now that we're talking about her. There's a sound that in our voice that if we say certain things, she will know what it is.
Mhm. Mhm.
This dog come down and I say, "There you are," she said. And we gave her awareness,
Yeah, and
added to the awareness of
yeah,
who she was.
yeah. Just as our pets
Yeah,
have unique traits,
yeah.
so do we. And that uniqueness is there for the absolute expression of our infinite self.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
we know a lot of us are dissatisfied with our lives because that's not really being expressed. And it doesn't have, like I said, it has nothing to do with getting rich or having money from your talents and your skills and your ability, but it's about having true fulfillment when those that uniqueness is expressed through you. And so when for instance, when you making toys, or when you're sewing, or when you
Mhm,
whatever you're doing, messing with at the time, your projects, you're most
mhm,
content then.
mhm, mhm.
That's when you're most content.
Yeah,
And those things have become, in a way, they're like conversation pieces. If you go out wearing a cap like you did today, that
mhm.
you made, it stops some people in their tracks and causes you to have a conversation with
Yeah,
them. I mean, it's a conversation opener.
yeah. It is.
Yeah, so it's usable.
But what is awesome is that somewhere I don't know when, don't know where, don't know how, but I do know all of a sudden when I'm talking to them, I become aware of the Christ consciousness as the
Mm-hmm,
heart,
mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm,
red, yellow,
mm-hmm,
orange, gold, and
mm-hmm.
blue fire around everybody's heart. I'm able to hear it and see it, and it speaks out through them in asking questions inside of the intuition voice. I
Your
can hear him
intuition
in
voice.
intuition.
Mhm.
I can hear him asking questions mixed in with their voice.
Would you say that many of us have, I should say, snuffed out our own unique essence by trying to be ordinary like everybody else,
They,
and
yeah,
not allowing ourselves to be different, and actually celebrating our difference? What do you think? Tell me what you guys think. Did, can you see places where you conformed to what everybody else was doing, everybody else did, everybody else thought, and in the meantime, it closed down a portion of yourself that was there to be expressed?
that's some destination. Somebody wrote here said some destination won't get.
No, that's on.
Is that right?
That's not anybody
Okay,
commenting.
some destinations will not be interrupted by any type of distractions. It is finitely set.
Finitely set
Yeah,
or infinitely
I'm
set?
going to say finitely set because it appears to be something called human self, or we call it an urge, or we call it I have to, I want to. we something thinks that it is you finding out what you want to be in life.
Yeah, and it's not about that.
It's not that. It's
No,
not that.
no, it's not that.
It's beyond that. What you want to be, a fireman? What you want to be, a truck driver?
It is being what you are in life.
It is the being that speaks.
And John said he's still processing all of this.
Oh,
Mhm.
and the processor that's processing all of this, John, and you've heard it before. I'm not going to say anything that does not recapture your Melchizedek ancient memory.
Now, Jonathan, hey Jonathan, thank you for giving us a comment. He said that's been my experience with social media. Gave it up a few months ago, and it made a huge difference.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
That's a profound
Because
statement.
it tends to make you conform, and not only that, but it tends when you look at people and their lives, there's something in you that says their lives are better than mine. Their lives are more beautiful than mine. They're having more of a good experience than I'm having, and so it makes you feel like you're lesser than.
There was 100 and so many years later that I used to stop and visit as I caught the bus to go to the other side of town when I was in high school. And when we get off the bus, she would be sitting on the porch, and it would be a pleasant day. And one day I decided to, and this was before I ever knew anything about what we're talking about now. I just thought I'd go over and talk to her and find out how old she was. I had this thing of finding people that were older about how old they were. Some were 100, some were close to two. I mean, it was really, I run across some real older ones, and I think that they were existing just for me to visit and talk to.
Mhm.
The honest of seeing this and knowing this is a great privilege that we chose to come into in this world
Mhm. Mhm.
to find these people who were really not people, but light beings. But I call them earth angels. I studied about them. And when I started studying about them, the light came on inside of me of how to recognize them. Have I not been so long talking to you and you not know who it was? He that has had a conversation with people, had a conversation with God and did not and was not aware of it.
Mhm.
All I can
Mhm.
say is that by the grace that I am, He is, you are, we are, everybody was born of, decided to visit Himself through each of us when we see each other in the store, in the service station, passing in the cars,
Mhm.
the ones even that drive too slow when we ready to go another direction. It's Him. And I often tell him when I even look in my puppy dog eyes, I tell him, I see you. When she was reading this to me last night at the table, or yesterday at the table, I
This
said,
morning.
this morning, I
Mhm.
see you. And He knows that I know I am, He is, we are talking, communicating with each other. He doesn't have any problem with it. It's not blasphemy. It's not being kooky. It's not being overly spiritual. It's not being uh, crazy or whatever word you want to use.
In
It's the real us we're
in
talking
fact,
to.
it's taking a step back from being religious, being overly spiritually obsessed.
I heard
It's
the
taking
words.
a step back from that
Mhm.
to see that who you are, what you are, is not connected to any particular belief of a religious belief. It is not connected to even any particular spiritual principles
Mhm.
that you may have learned or read. It is in fact that naturalness of you that you were from the day you were born. It's that naturalness of you. And that's kind of hard for the mind to accept because like we said on Sunday, it's like the two of us, we have gone from being Cliff and Ned. That's who we were when we
Mhm.
met.
Mhm.
He was Cliff and I was Ned. And it's like we went through all of the journey of getting saved, the Christian journey, going through church, becoming pastors, trying to build an image of that, and then
It was
and
the
then in
image.
the midst of that, coming into a knowledge of the truth of oneness and no judgments, and leaving some of the foundational beliefs of that we were in, and moving on into a place of oneness and liberty and freedom, and finding ourselves here now, right back at where we started as Cliff and Ned, only with a deeper understanding and awareness of who we are.
The Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way before his works of old. I was set up from the earliest. Did I say it right?
I don't know. I'm not looking at it.
I was set up from the everlasting, from the beginning or ever the earth was. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no foundations or no fountains abounding with water, before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth. Now, some people say they're talking about Jesus in the Old
It's talking
Testament.
about wisdom in the Old
That's
Testament.
us. That's
That
us.
is us.
That is us. If you could say anything, the greatest words you can say to the life of your true identity is thank you. Thank you from the depths of the heart of God. I saw one of our family friends on the other side, like a near-death visitation on the other side. I saw him. I saw all that he's ever done in his life, knew what he had done, and would think that when a person left his body like that, hell would be his final destination. But I went over there on the other side and I saw him, and I saw God retrieve him. I was like in a remote view and looking at him from the right side, and the Lord said, I'm telling him, or you tell him, that he is forever, eternally forgiven. If he could forgive himself, he would see that that forgiving of self is the forgiveness of God. He said eternal forgiveness. For the first time, I saw what Jesus was like, contrary to popular demand of the translation, interpretation, expositions of some of the greatest scholars who misplaced his character with judgments. I saw a serenity given to us to see Jesus, the real self, as eternal forgiveness. The most awesome, aware feeling of seeing God has never, ever held anything against us, even if we didn't believe he was real. He was our real reality, realness.
He was our real reality,
real reality of
real reality,
forgiveness. Really, 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 really.
In Exodus 4, God opened Moses' eyes. He opened Moses to the realm of truth by opening Moses' eyes to the illusion. You didn't even know what I said.
Open Moses' eyes to the illusion. I heard you.
But you were laughing. What were you laughing about?
I'm looking at John Grayson here. I'm still processing all of this.
He said, "Hope John, let us know what you're dealing with, young man, so we can kind of help you process it."
Yeah, well, your processing is the processor. That's doing the processing.
Yeah, the processor is the mind.
Yeah, that's processor. That's the mind
trying
is
to
the processing. And the prognostication of investigation and the perpetration.
Now you're really going to have to try to process it.
Yeah, we want you to process the proper pronunciation of the process information.
Why do you do that? You know nobody can follow it.
Oh Lordy. I had the best. You know what? I've been having the best time with these doctors and these nurses and these office visits the last couple of days. I just had the best time with the doctor. Just sat there and laugh. And I said, I like to hear them laugh because some of them be having a rough time. She said,
Yeah, they do.
someone said, I was having a rough day. You can't. I said, I'm glad you had a rough day so I can come in and see what you look like in your rough day and make fun of it. I just love it. I do. I really do. I was by your side when you were born. You were by my side when our bodies were born. Process, Brother John, that is a good one. We were by each other's side when our bodies were born. When Jesus and all the patriarchs of the Bible were born, we all were standing beside each other, coming forth from the skills of the maker, the partaker, investigator of our larger than self awareness, looking and at the same time structuring our bodies to fit in the destination that was set in divine order from the ancient of age to come to this place and to sit here tonight and have a talk with Christ and all the people on this site. On this site we hear and in sight we see. We're talking to the greatest part of us that would ever be. To be here or to be later is the investigation of our greatest participator. She looking at John. You get. I can't help but talk like that because I'm looking. There's a part of me looking for the words that would correspond to the awesome glory of God. I'm trying with every unction of the blood of Jesus that flows through our veins. There's another one. His blood is our blood lamb, the lamb's blood of God that's in every one of us. The doctor gave me a shot with a cortisone shot in my finger.
In your finger. He has a trigger finger.
And it won't shoot. It's just trigger. You keep acting like you're going to shoot.
It's locked in shoot mode.
Yeah.
He's been like this all day. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
She said it's locked in shoot mode.
Yes, it is. It's locked in shoot mode. Hopefully that'll help it.
You think I need some help?
Yes, you do need some help. You do need help.
We go to the KW, we walk through the line and say, can we help you? I said, do it look that bad? Do it look that bad? Yeah, I need some help. Can't you look and tell I need some help? Help me out, baby Jesus. Please, somebody and your cousin. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. How do you follow that?
Lord. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I got to get me a shot here drinking this Jack Daniels.
Land. Talk back at us, guys. Let us know where you are in all of this stuff we're talking about. It wasn't making any sense at all.
Oh, Lordy. Uh-oh, I said it again, didn't I?
It's your favorite thing to say.
Oh, Lordy. Oh, Lordy. Say it again.
Stop it.
Okay,
Stop
okay,
it. Stop it. You're giddy. Are you sleepy or something?
No, I feel good. I sure do. Feel good. Feel good. Talk to me, girl.
I want them to talk back at us and tell us
what
they're thinking about any of the things we said tonight.
Talk to me.
You telling me to talk to you?
Yeah, you talk to me.
I just talked to you.
Okay, talk to me, baby.
I've already talked to you.
Okay, we're waiting. Are we getting anything? I'm still processing this, John. Okay.
I'm like, John, I'm still processing what you're saying. So go ahead. Talk some more. Talk some more.
Who is, the question is asked, waking up. what is this? Who is that? What is that? Is that really me? Why didn't they tell me who I was when I was at home in church? I found out it's not in some books, but it's hid in others.
Mhm.
Found out that it was also in,
Yeah.
it is in some of the greatest writers, skillful hand expressions in ink and paper and words. The format is speaking the blueprints. Wow, it's speaking from the depths of the hall of intuition. It is found out in the experience of the aha moment. We didn't find it in the clubs, the church clubs. We didn't find it in the dance clubs, but it was there. It did not shone. It did not
Shine.
shone the seemingly dark places that we went. It did not deplete itself. It did not decrease in its essence in the darkest experience that we could have had. It was there in the seemingly worst of moments of tears. And I didn't know, and I had a chance to see in the worst of moments of tears that dropped from my eyes, I could see the hand of an angel catching every tear in a bottle, the bottle of tears I saw in heaven. And each tear was settled in peace until we pulled the cork out of the bottle on the other side and poured it into the pages of the diaries of the halls of records, scripts, and pages of the eternal books. Eternal books. And each tear grabbed a page, and as it grabbed the page, it turned and looked back with the eyes of eternal and said, "This is what I was saying, dropping from your eyes. Every tear that fell from Jesus' eyes, every tear that fell from every major, unmajor, small poet hidden in the corner of an attic, every tear that dropped from the sayings of the Ancient of Age was speaking and is speaking now through the pages and the annuals of the books and records of heaven. In the hall of record, it speaks. And these tears are so loud that they speak through intuition. I like that. I like that. I'm praying as I speak to you, and I'm talking to God in conversation of praying, reminding the eternal intuition that we heard of God speaking in our life. And we honor it. And we honor it in every one of you tonight. We love to hear intuition communicate.
So that's pretty much what the reading that I did earlier, that God has been speaking in all of us. The voice of God has been speaking in all of us, but we have not heard, or I should say, understood what the voice was saying, because it didn't sound like the normal voices that we hear.
We didn't know that it wasn't a voice at all, but that's the best we could describe it.
The voice of God is kind of like when the wind blows and you get a message out of the wind. It's like when you hear an ocean and you get a message out of the ocean. It's not sentences and words. It may come that way, but it doesn't usually come that way.
I'm sitting here rubbing and scratching baby girl's chin, and y'all can see her face, her mouth in the picture. But you know what? She's talking, and I'm talking back to her through scratching her chin. Okay?
John says this. He said, I'm sitting here and grace has brought us to this place at this very moment, that he brings to me, you too. Yes, thank you. And you to us too. Yes.
My Lord comes into
my
himself.
Lord said to my Lord. Yeah.
Yeah, he says to my Lord.
My Lord said to my Lord.
And the Lord says unto his Lord, Perfect communication is from one Lord to another, seeming like it's two, but it's only one.
It's the
We are that
same.
one breath.
Mhm.
What is so amazing? I sit there in the doctor's office somewhere today, and there's a blood pulse on my arm,
Mhm.
and I often in our classes in brick and mortar, I said, I'm gonna tell you God has how to tell you guys how to find your real self.
Mhm.
I said, find the pulse on your right or left arm, feel yourself and listen to it and feel it.
Mhm.
I'm doing it now. I'm feeling it.
Mhm.
When we leave this body, we will take with us this pulse beat.
And you have to still yourself to feel it.
Yeah.
You really have to still yourself.
Now, it will come. I'll say this to you. You will come to a place where anywhere you stop, what you're doing, put your hand on that spot. You'll know where it is immediately.
Mhm.
You won't have to search all over your arm. You just go to it right there. There it is.
Mhm. Mhm.
You'll be talking and feel it.
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you know what's so strange about this pulse beat? It may, when you start out, it may be going bump, 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 bump. But then when you say you are here, that one beat, it'll seem like it'll stop and it'll say 1, 2, 3, 4. One beat at a time. 1, 2. But then when you stop, it seems like it'll go back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And sometimes it seems like it'll speed up 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And I lit up off of it, and it almost seemed like it changed beat. This is the life of God. You can't, you can't, you can't buy it.
That's right.
You can't paint it. You can't smell it. You can't chase it down. You can't drown it. It seemed like you can. You can't shoot it. You can't make it stop. If you do, it'll just change its identity. Like sometime when they get ready to take blood out of your arm, the veins will hide. They can't find it.
Yours does.
Yeah, mine hide.
Yes. Yes.
These saying that we say it is the best we can do today for these mystical talks that we've had over the months. The best we can say.
It's the best you can say.
Yeah. Okay.
You're feeling really mystical tonight.
Yeah. It's
Feeling
wild.
really
Jonathan
mystical.
said this. What did he say?
Jonathan, it's wild how the mind can't see the true nature of reality, that time is an illusion. We are eternal, and this experience is a miracle. You're right. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well,
The reality of our true nature in finding out what I am, not so much who I am, but what I am. And there's no definable words for that.
yeah.
There are no definable words for what you are. But I want to encourage you to go back and look for your own uniqueness that you may have kind of snuffed out,
Mm-hmm.
that you had as a child, and that
Mm-hmm.
will open you up to further expression of your true self. And
The
that
book says, "He that searcheth the heart knows what is the mind of the spirit." I can sense the searcher searching. We just bought a new refrigerator. We had to. The other one was wore. It done refrigered out, and I feel my inner self searching for the monetary resource again. The favor of God searching how that is going to be $1,900 going to be paid off in some kind of way, not with just me saying I'm going to pay it, but it's the source is God paying that off and all other things off. Take a deep breath and rest, because there's a lot of things that God paid for over the years of your life that is now going to show forth in manifestation of a completed job. It's finished. It's taken care of.
And when you said completed job, I felt that there's someone waiting for a job or looking for a job, searching for a job.
Yeah.
And I felt that it was going to come the moment that you relax back into the awareness of the universe taking care of you.
Yes.
That job will show up.
Yeah.
And it will be the right job for you.
Your prayers are heard by your existence. You are the existence of the communication of God through events of 24/7.
And every time you open your mouth, you're opening a portal.
And if you don't open your mouth, just the thought of it.
Yes.
And just the conversation of it now.
So if it's just the thought of it that creates or manifests or attracts or repels, then by all means, think of what you do want, not what you don't want.
Yeah.
If you focus on what you don't want to happen, then that will attract that to you.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you focus on that you do want.
Yeah. But I thank you, all of you, for tuning in to us today.
And again, we apologize for being a little bit late.
Yeah. There will be a time again on Thursday at 12:30.
We will be back.
Live and in color.
And on time.
At the same station, same channel. Observing Christ in everybody and communicating with our Christ self through each of us.
Yeah. Yes.
Don't take no wooden nickels.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
There you go.
Keep your nose clean, your britches on.
Okay.
Because God is Jesus on the main line.
God is Jesus on the main line.
Yeah, Jesus is Christ in us on the main line.
Man.
We done already told him everything we need to tell him. We tell the problem on God or God on the problem. We tell God and the problem, hold still. I trust you to cover the whole thing from beginning to end.
Oh, sometimes you get so poetic. You're so poetic.
That's because I be around you.
John says we are on time.
That's right, John. I appreciate you, John. Hey, we're going to have a good...
Yeah, Linda said she felt sleepy all day and got to dozing while we were speaking.
You into that hypnagogic state, so rare for me to nap. Well, I'm sure.
At least we lulled you to sleep, so that's okay. That's
John,
okay.
I mean, Linda, now wait a minute. You can't be taking a nap at a time like this. You need the Lord to wake you.
She said, I'm sure I heard on another level.
Boy, you must have been really sleepy.
Look, Linda, we used to listen to tapes all night long. We leave them running. That was back in the day with cassette tapes.
Yeah.
We would leave them playing all night long. So yes, I agree. You can hear on another level.
Yeah, you can. Appreciate you guys joining into us today.
We'll be back again, as we said, on Thursday at 12:30 with Impromptu with Pastor Norman. If he's still, are you still in town, Pastor Norman? You're going to be where on Thursday? Anyway, we'll be back.
We'll be back
at 12:30 for Impromptu. And we love you guys. We'll see you next time.
All right. Good to hear from you. Good to see you, Jonathan, and all the